Yeah. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Long as I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. Sports coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Sports coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like Elf. I thank God every day I'm not a felt. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your shame for the championship. Bucking on Tampa, duck down. Falcons, pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL, when things seem fishy, then you probably smell the crooked referees or Roger Goodell. Bugging like this, and I'm a who that. Every day I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. It's the sports coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. It's the sports coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
Welcome. Now rocking with the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys, where we have intense, entertaining, educating, and enlightening sport talk from your favorite sports family. Shout out to the Who Dat Nation. We up in this thing. The Great Saint Think Tank. Appreciate y'all for joining me for this episode of The Coma. We up in this thing entitled Saints Give a Winston, Jameis Winston, flipping Winston, an ultimatum. And we'll cover that and other news in the Black and Gold building. So shout out to the fam. Appreciate y'all for being in this thing. And also just, we heard about the number one thing going on right now as the Carolina Panthers have traded up to the number one position in the draft. They got the pick. And we'll cover that in this episode of the Coma because, this is one of the things that it just goes to show you that some of these teams, especially the Carolina Panthers, they're not effing around. They're not playing around. The Carolina Panthers are not playing around. This season, they hired a very good football cast. They've been making pretty solid moves in the offseason. And they've continued to make some sturdy moves heading into the upcoming draft. So they're not effing around. So we got to bring it as they understand, just like we understand that the NFC South is open. So let the games begin. So shout out to the fam. Please feel free to hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. And by all means, feel free to share the show on your social media feed. We up in this thing. Shout out to the fam. Appreciate all my Black and Gold family members. The Great Saint Think Tank is in the building as well. Shout out to you guys. That OG himself, Jerry Poor, is in the building. And if Jerry ain't on your show or representing or showing you some support, you ain't doing something right. So shout out to OG. Teflon Don, shout out to you. Shout out to my queens, man. Good to see you. Dana, good to see you, Queen, in the building. Queen Barbara is in the building. Shout out to you, Queen, as well. Good to see Brother Torrey Shepard Sr.'s in this thing. Shout out to Brother Torrey. King Morrison's in this thing as well. Good to see you as well. Adelcom 28, what's up, Brother David? Sir Roger, shout out to you, fam. Travis Jones, shout out to you. Ant-Man is in this thing. My brother KT is up in this thing as well. Hemisphere, shout out to you. Jerry Lewis, shout out to you. 504 Cole, shout out to you. L Dub for real, shout out to you. Debo, what's happening, Debo? Good to see you, fam. BJ9, shout out to you, fam. D's Nuts is in the building, family. D's Nuts is in the building. Shout out to you, Myron. Good to see you, fam. Daniel Williams and the rest of the fam. Greg Boynton, Swag Fan, Uncle Paul. It was happening, Uncle Paulie. The Great Saint Think Tank historian himself is in the building. Good to see you. What's up, Mr. No Charge? To keep it real. Shout out to you, brother. Good to see you in the stream as well. Ty's in this thing as well. Good to see everybody, man. Chilling on up in the building. 3Ls, how you doing, fam? 3Ls is in the building. Good to see you as well. Shout out to you, fam. Appreciate you. Brother Daniel's in this thing. Tim, Val, good to see you, fam. Everybody. Hey, Ken, what's happening? Yeah, I gotta say it like that, fam. Or it's just funny, man. It's not me, it's the man tag, man. What's up, Austin? Shout out to you, man. Good to see you as well. Quavadia, shout out to you, fam. Good to see all y'all up in this thing. Tug Graph, much love. Trap Star, what's happening, baby? Coach Todd is in this thing as well. Shout out to the fam, man. Thank y'all for joining me. Please hit the like button if you hadn't gotten a chance to, fam. Please do take a quick second and just smash that like button. And also feel free to share. You know, sharing is caring, as DC like to say, on the Sports Coma. So we're going to talk about that today, the Jameis Winston stuff and some other stuff. We're going to take a look at the Saints salary cap situation and a few moves that the Saints have made, so far in this early period as we are approaching March the 15th, which is free agency time. And this is the first big situation where we'll see what kind of direction where the Saints is headed in. You know, we'll see exactly what their plan or their strategy is to move this team back into the playoffs, because that should be the number one focal point of the New Orleans Saints organization, is that we've been away from the playoffs for 2 years. We've regressed. We were 9-7. We regressed to 7-10. And that the current administration, head coach, general manager, all of those guys, they have to step up, show up, and handle the business. They bring Derek Carr in. We got the reaction from the family member several days ago. He should improve the offense, but like I said, it takes time, man, and we're going to just have to see where this direction is heading. All right, God's appointed one. Shout out to your brother Greg Boynkin. Shout out to your Shrine, Lori. What's happening, Lori? Shout out to Lori. Darrell is in this thing as well. Good to see you, fam. Thank y'all all for being here. Colonnade, I see you, fam. Appreciate you as well. All right, so, fam, let's get into some of this stuff here as well. Let's get into it, family, because this is some of the stuff, man, we got to look at as the Saints give Jameis Winston deadline to agree to the restructured contract. CBS, ESPN, whoever, pick them. They all dropping this story about what should happen here with Jameis Winston. This is a very interesting move by the Black and Gold to give Jameis a restructured contract and a deadline of free agency to sign it before officially being released. And, of course, you know how they're going to designate him. But this is basically just kind of relegating Jameis to a backup role in the Black and Gold building behind Derek Carr if injuries are going to happen. Of course, you don't pay Derek Carr the kind of money the Saints are paying him to compete with Jameis Winston. No, as soon as he agreed to be the Saints quarterback and put pen to paper, he's the starter. So any role Jameis has would be simply as his backup. Will Jameis take such a role? Or does Jameis see himself as a quarterback that still can contribute to a team? Well, the team that he came from, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, are currently looking for such a quarterback. Is it a better day for Jameis to stay with the Saints as Carr's backup? Or perhaps does he go for, I guess, sunshinier pastures and going back to Tampa Bay to compete against said Saints, which would be an interesting, situation, to be honest with you. It would definitely give Jameis a reason to compete harder against a team that basically gave up on him. But anyway, 3L says, Big Q, I had to take a break from the Saints last season. I get you, man. We all in that way. Sometimes it's like that, man. It's like that, sometimes it's like that, family. Just imagine how I feel sometimes. I get it from all through the spectrum, how people feel, man, all the time. All right, so Winston could soon be shown the door out of New Orleans. There's a quarterback in New Orleans, and after the aftershocks of the Saints inking Derek Carr are still being felt. Dalton, who started 14 games for the Saints last season, is all but gone, and he's entering unrestricted free agency. The status of Winston is still up in the air. The team has offered the former number one overall pick a restructured contract to stay with the team as Carr's backup, but it comes with a deadline, according to ESPN. If Winston does not accept his restructured contract offer from the team by Wednesday, the start of the new league year, he will be released per this latest report. Now, the Saints are currently $24.5 million over the cap. It will need to get under the threshold before the league year starts. So restructuring Winston could help the team get that way. He's currently due almost $13 million in the base salary in 23 and has a cap hit of $15.6 million. If the team outright releases him, they'll free up about $4.4 million. Of course, paying a backup almost $13 million is unfeasible if you're the Saints, especially after signing Carr to that lucrative deal. So what will you need? He said, so something will need to give. If the Saints get the sense that his market could be solid in free agency, he may allow the team to release him. If he decides to stay in New Orleans, he'd be one of the better backups in the NFL. Now, Winston agreed to that 2-year deal worth $28 million last season and was the week 1 starter, but only appeared in 3 games in the season opener, suffered multiple fractures in his back, and eventually was put on the shelf. He initially arrived in New Orleans back in 2020 and has started 10 of 14 games for the franchise. That includes 7 starts in 21 where he helped the team go 5-2 while boasting a passer rating of almost 103 before suffering torn ACL that ended the season. Before joining the Saints, Winston was the franchise QB for the Bucs, who selected him first overall out of Florida State in the year of 2015. And he started 70 games with them and had 121 touchdowns against just 88 interceptions. So there you go with Jameis Winston being offered the restructured deal, however, to remain with the team. Now, with that being said, what's the proper route for Jameis Winston? Now, of course, the restructured contract. Now, Jameis could decide to stay with New Orleans as a backup. He could. It's an option. But it's more feasible for him from a monetary standpoint to tell the Saints, shove it. You know, they didn't really want you. And then, of course, he could take a head beeline right to Tampa, where he comes from, because they have an opening there. Their starting quarterback right now is Kyle Trask, the former Florida quarterback, the Gators, that is. And Jameis could definitely compete there in Tampa, to go back to Tampa. Now, they had rumors the year before that of Jameis going back there, and why not? Why not go back to Tampa Bay and compete against the Saints twice a year and attempt to beat them? This is what I'm thinking. It could be the possibility. It could be a possibility. If that would be interesting to have. Of course, they have a new staff there, and doors are open for Jameis. But if I was Jameis Winston, I would not accept a restructured deal. I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I would go into free agency and see what's out there, and he wouldn't be a bad idea for him to hit free agency. The Saints just totally gave up on Jameis after his first couple of games. They never allowed him to come back to even see what he can do in the back end of the season. So at one point, I think this is the end of the Jameis. As soon as Derek Carr was signed, that was the end of the Jameis Winston era in New Orleans. It ended very unceremoniously. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if Jameis Winston headed to Tampa Bay. There are other teams out there that are looking at him, but he's looking to start. He still feels like he has a lot to give as a starter. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could be the team that, once again, welcome Jameis with open arms. Granted, he's healthy. So that is the big point. So very interesting to say the same. Shout out to you, Ro. Good to see you, fam. Appreciate you being in the building as well. It is interesting. Iceman, what's up, bro? Good to see you in the chat. D Grizzly, shout out to you. Oh, Cooler, what's happening, baby? Shout out to you as well, fam. Appreciate you. All right, so yeah, this is some of it, man. And like we said, we knew this all the time. The way the Saints were hell-bent on landing Derek Carr, they got their own. They got what they want. Jameis is the past, and Carr, in their minds, is the future. And I agree, they could have gave Jameis another chance, but Dennis Allen wanted his quarterback, not Peyton Squell. He could have had another quarterback. They went after Deshaun Watson and settled for Jameis. And now you see where this ended up, and good to see it finally is about to come to an end with Jameis. More than likely will be gone, because I would not take any restructured contract from the Saints unless he felt comfortable enough to stay in New Orleans behind Carr as a backup, which I think that'll be a waste of his time. Maybe he should go head on, because the Saints really wanted Dalton to be the backup anyway. Dalton will work a lot cheaper, and he's a favorite of Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael. Jameis is not. So this will end Jameis's tenure with the team, in my opinion. That ended when Carr was signed. All right, going to the next article from The Wire here. Saints Michael Thomas have progressed in contract extension talks. Now, I remember we had this discussion some time ago about the obstacle the Saints have once they kind of rework Michael's deal before, and it had that big chunk of money that was coming up. And of course, the Saints are working in an extension with Michael Thomas to make it more cap friendly, open up some more money, and to kind of bring him some more years with the team, which is all very interesting, but not surprising. Because remember, Dennis Allen has been very steady, and he is a believer in Michael Thomas, no doubt about it. One of his first moves as a head coach was to go to California, meet up with Mike Thomas, and let him know that, hey, we believe in you. We want you here. And he went out there and made him feel a part of the team, even to the point where he then in the draft used multiple picks to move up to go get Chris Olave to pair with Michael Thomas. One of the family members asked me on the last show, you think he'll leave? I think Michael Thomas, and I said, Michael Thomas, by all indications, want to be here. He would not, in my mind, leave the Saints once they already ingratiate themselves to him in the manner in which he felt comfortable about. And the Saints even went so far as to get the perfect complement to Michael Thomas and Chris Olave. So I don't think Mike goes anywhere. If he had the power to, he wouldn't go anywhere until he can see what him and Chris Olave could be. Now, the indications are he should be ready for camp. So everybody will keep an eye out on Mike Thomas. But this stuff here is not really a surprise to see the Saints seeing about trying to keep Michael Thomas with Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, and perhaps build some more weapons for Carr to have, which would be a pretty interesting offense. If Pete Carmichael could make better plays and keep his guys involved, this could be a very interesting offense, to be honest with you. All right, Nick Underhill tweeted that there have been some progress recent in conversation between Saints and Thomas on contract extension, according to sources. Nothing done yet, but talks are productive. So that we'll see exactly what's happening. But Thomas played a part in recruiting quarterback Derek Carr, so did Drew Brees. So there's at least a suggestion he would return if the Saints got their guy. They did. So the focus shifted to keep Thomas around for a year or two. But it's not going to be easy. And the Saints restructured his contract back in December. And it was set up to carry about $31 million roster bonus if he's on the team by March the 8th, which is fastly approaching us. Effectively a poison pill. His current deal will have to be torn up in order for the Saints to extend him, but they may have been planning that all along. So we'll see. So that does, to a degree, gives us a timeline as well, that the Saints deal with Michael Thomas is probably on the front burner right now because of the deadline that they want to get done by March the 18th. So there you go. So anything that happens between Mike and the Saints, March the 18th is the final of that date. And I'm pretty sure, like the reports are making, that they're trying to get Mike done and kind of free and open some stuff there. So not bad for the Saints. So Derek Carr is the guy. A healthy Mike Thomas with a new contract with the Saints paired with Chris Olave makes it interesting. The emergence of Rashid Shaheed is intriguing. Marquez Callaway still there. So at some point you have Alvin Kamara, but you also could be losing Alvin Kamara to suspension. What happened in March, I think the 31st or whatever it is, not the 31st, or whenever his court case is, which doesn't look good to me. But the Saints have a time to be able to address this matter via the draft or maybe in free agency. Probably the draft would be the best outcome. So really good, interesting thought process here. And Michael Thomas also was happy to get Carr because they understand Carr is the type of dude that does push the ball down the field. And I was doing some research, and a couple of family members that are very, what's the term I get, familiar with Derek Carr was saying about, and I was asking about Carr's leadership capabilities. How is his leadership as a quarterback there? Because the Saints lacked that in the offense last year. The leadership aspect from the quarterback position. You can't win without a quarterback. This is a quarterback-driven league. You've got to have a quarterback with some leadership abilities over your offense. So how does he acclimate to that? We shall soon see. But the weapons are around him. And listen, it's going to be very interesting. Let's just put it like that. So the Saints progressing in talks with Michael Thomas. Deadline's March the 18th, fam. So y'all remember that. All right, so let's move on to the next one. The Saints awarded a 7-round compensatory pick. They received the 257th pick, giving them 8 total picks straight from the Canal Street Chronicles. Saints have been granted a 7-round pick in 23's draft. This will give them 8 picks in the upcoming draft. It was also the key for the Saints to ultimately get Carr without having to trade any picks. The Saints now have a full draft of picks, added their franchise QB, and are looking to keep Michael Thomas in others. Not bad. Not bad at all. We just needed to work out. So this is what the picks look like currently for the Saints, for family members who might want to know. Let me get the bigger screen there. As you can see, this is the 2023 draft picks for your New Orleans Saints. Number 29 that they acquired from Denver, drew Miami and San Francisco. The 2nd round pick 40, 3rd round pick 71, 4th round pick 115, 2 5th round picks 148 and 167, and 2 7th round picks 229 and 257. So there you go with all of your draft picks as we are getting closer and closer to draft time. So the Saints get that compensatory pick situation worked out. Next article from NewOrleansSaints.com. Saints agree to terms with defensive back J.T. Gray, our special teams ace, on a 3-year contract extension. Now, this is a bit of a surprise for me because usually the Saints just go 1 year or maybe 2 years, but they gave J.T. Gray 3-year contract extension. Very interesting. Very interesting. So let's get into it as J.T. Gray's added there. Saints announced today they have agreed to terms with defensive back J.T. Gray on a 3-year extension. The announcement was made by Saints Executive Vice President and GM, Slick Mickey. Gray, a 6 feet tall, 202-pounder, played in 67 regular season games and the 3 postseason contests since joining the Saints in 2018, an undrafted free agent out of Mississippi State. Over the past 5 years in New Orleans, Gray has become a linchpin in the team's special teams unit, with the 2-time team captain making 56 special team stops, 3 coverage fumble recoveries, and a block punt. He also added 7 defensive stops, 2.5 sacks, 1 pass defense. And since his first full year in 2019, Gray's 54 special team stops ranked first in the NFC and second in the NFL, and has 54 solo stops leading the conference and are tied for the NFL league. So congratulations to J.T. Gray. Gray has twice been selected as the AP All-Pro for Special Teams Excellence. Back in 21, and was voted a Pro Bowl starter for his efforts in the 21 campaign, which led the league with 19 stops and NFL best 16 solo. In 22, Gray appeared in 15 games and led the team in coverage stops for the 4th consecutive season, recording 12 tackles to go with his 5 defensive stops, 2 solo, and 2.5 sacks. So J.T. Gray, an undrafted guy the Saints picked up, and turned this guy into a Pro Bowl special teams guy. Congratulations to J.T. Gray. It was a fantastic, it was interesting and surprising move. Usually the Saints go 1 or 2 years, but they gave him a 3-year deal to kind of build around the special teams. And, I've been very critical of the Saints special teams insofar as the return aspect of it. So hopefully we can get some better blockers to help out in the special teams, because I've been trying to bring light to that very dark part of their game. So once again, congratulations to J.T. Gray on a 3-year contract extension. Very hard and difficult for these special teams guys, family, to be able to do what they're doing. This guy worked really hard. Now, what component does J.T. Gray bring to the safety room? That is another thing that I don't see, as something that's viable. He is merely a special teams guy. He is not very good as a safety. If J.T. Gray's back there playing for you at the safety position, you're in trouble, so it'll be interesting. All right, 504 Coast says, Q, if Hooker and Tajay Spears are there at 71, who do you take? At 71 between those two, man, I love Hooker. Man, I love that. Hold on, let me get to my love. At 71, sheesh. Boy, that's a tough one there. You got to go Hendon Hooker, man. But you know what? Quarterback-wise, I would probably grab Hendon Hooker because the Saints really need to get them a quarterback of the future. Some people say we'll wait next year. But the reality is, like, anything could happen, fam. Anything can happen. What if, not wishing anything bad, but you got to be prepared. If Carr has an issue or if he gets hurt, you got to rely on the backup. You got Hooker there. We counting on him to do all 4 years of his contract. By the time he's done, he'll be 35 years old. And you want to have that. But, it don't always work out that way. Sometimes you got to have a little insurance. So I'd rather have Hendon Hooker there and not need him, But 71 is a lot of people anticipate him going somewhere between the second round and the third round. But when you add the Elvin Kamara card and the fact that Elvin Kamara could be suspended, the need should be there. You want a quarterback. I want him one. But right now, if it was between those guys, I would have to go add Tajay Spears simply because I know that Elvin Kamara he's having some issues. He could be gone. And we're going to need a guy of Tajay Spears' ability. And then you can have a situation where you have both Tajay Spears and Elvin Kamara in the same backfield. You can split Kamara out as a wide receiver, have Tajay. But I mean, it's many different applications and usages for those type of running backs. They're very talented. Very tough question, Fable Foucault. But if I'm forced and pinned to, I would probably end up taking Tajay Spears there simply because Elvin Kamara, man. But if Hendon Hooker's at the round and hitting you right there, man, it's tough to turn away. That's a tough one. But anyway, you go is a good thing. But I would have to say Tajay Spears. Thanks for the question. All right, so anyway, on to the next one. Saints, Great Saint Think Tank. Did you guys know you got a new defensive assistant coach? Did you know that? Well, yes, you do. And Bob Rose from the Saints News Network, shout out to Brother Bob, is dropping a scoop. All the Saints add a new defensive coach to their staff. Shout out to Yoshi 504, baby, and welcome to becoming a Pro Star #1. Shout out to you, Yoshi. Thank you very much for becoming a member of the platform. Much love to you and welcome to the fam. So anyway, James says Hooker will be long gone before 71. Yeah. It'll be very, yeah. Really, that guy, man, to be honest with your family, that guy really should be up there with the top 4. The injury really dropped his stock some. But the people who know football know what they're looking at when they look at Hendon Hooker. It's like he makes a scout job really easy. Like some scouts got to pay attention to certain guys. They can't say Hendon Hooker is undersized. They can't say Hendon Hooker has a weak arm. They can't say or try to say, Hendon Hooker, can we turn you into a wide receiver like they tried to do Lamar Jackson? And Lamar Jackson had to tell them, I'm not playing no wide receiver. Remember, they would try to try you out as a wide receiver, and Lamar Jackson bucked him when he was coming out of, what was it? Louisville? Wasn't it Louisville? But some of these guys, you look at them and you say to yourself, that guy's going to be good, man. You got, the command of the offense, the intelligence, the ability to move around on the field. And I seen guys do the same thing. Malik Willis looked good when he came out of Liberty, a small-time college, but you can see the potential. A lot of times these guys fail. A lot of it's on them, but it's the scheme that they're brought into too. So you got to make sure whoever you're bringing them in, you got a concept of what you're doing. And the relationship the Saints have with Coach Burns, the wide receiver coach who comes from Tennessee, could be something interesting there. But you got Cam Jordan, out all the quarterbacks in the draft. Cam was like draft Hendon Hooker. What does Cam know? Those guys know who that guy is, man. If he wasn't hurt, he'd be up there in the top 4, no doubt about it. When we talking about Richardson and all that, you'd be talking about Hendon Hooker. Anyway, let's get into it. Cat Terrell reports on Friday that the Saints have added former Eastern Illinois defensive coordinator Adam Gristick as a defensive assistant. Gristick's role has not been specified, but he was the linebackers coach at Eastern Illinois. That's, you guess whose former college that is? Anybody in the chat want to throw a mention out there? Anybody out there want to throw a mention on who that guy is? Whose former college is that? Who came from Eastern Illinois, family? Anybody want to throw something on there? Who was that? Uncle Who That, shout out to you, fam. Says long time no see, finally back hanging out with the family. Shout out to you, bro. Appreciate y'all for being here. All right. So anyway, what's up, Carla? Shout out to you, Queen. But Gristic's role, he says, prior to EIU, Gristic was an assistant at Missouri State. Hey, that's right. That's right. That's right. The ties that bind. Don't tell me about the Circle Boys, man. Don't tell me, don't you dare do it. The ties that bind, baby. The ties that bind. All right. But yeah, New Orleans is an excellent pair of linebackers in Demario Davis and Pete Werner. Caden Ellis also had a breakout season, but will be an unrestricted free agent. The team also spent the 5th round selection on DeMarco Jackson. Look out for that kid last spring. So Jackson missed the entire campaign. He had an injury. The Saints just shelved him. But watch out for this guy. The Saints already have a linebackers coach in Michael Hodges, a widely regarded coach in the league circles. He's one of the few New Orleans defensive assistants to return. Co-coordinator Ryan Nielsen and Richard are the major names no longer with the team. Nielsen also oversaw the defensive line, while Richardson was in charge of the DBs. Joe Woods is there. Ty Grantham is the defensive line coach. Marcus Robertson was hired to work with the defensive backs, and Dennis Allen, the Saints defensive coordinator, is expected to call the signals. So the Saints ranked 5th in total defense in 22. They were 2nd against the pass and were 4th in the league with 48 sacks. However, the Saints had just 7 interceptions, 30th in the NFL, and held a lowly 24th ranking against the run, which is what undermined the Saints. Everything else was flowing quite well, but the Saints could not stop the run. In a few games last year that really hurt us, especially when the offense couldn't find any offense. Or the offense was simply offensive. It really was, man. It stinked. So anyway, right, what's up, Cheryl? Shout out to you, fam. Appreciate you. What's up, my brother Randolph? Shout out to my dog Randolph, man. King C3 said, why the Panthers trade everything to the Bears? Man, they swinging for the fences, brother. Joe Dog says Winston deserves better, but if he wants to be a backup QB for the Saints, I would love for him to stay. Way better to back up QB than Dalton. Yeah, I get you on that, and a lot of people would love to see that. But Jameis feels like he's a guy that can compete at a starter's level. And if he decides to leave, you'll have an opportunity. Perhaps not too far away, perhaps in the same defensive, in the same conference or the same, conference that you play in. We'll see. Anyway, let's move on. Let's look at the cap situation, family, right here. This is directly from Sport Track here, showing the Saints at $25.2 million. Remember, they got to be under that cap real soon. So there's several moves that's left to be made. There's the Cam Jordan move that could be a restructure. There's the Marshawn Lattimore move. So be looking for those moves over the next several days to occur for our family members that say, hey, Q, what's next for the Who Dat Nation? What's next for us to do? What we got to do now, brother? What we need to do? Well, what you need to do, the Saints need to do there is work on the restructuring Cam Jordan, Marshawn Lattimore, and to decide on what's going on with Mr. Andrews Pete. Is Andrews Pete coming back to the team, or do the Saints feel like, he's still on the team, but do the Saints feel like they need to move on from Andrews Pete? That's the question. Is he, or do they rework him as well? So these are some of the things that's going to happen. And also the Jameis Winston card plays a factor here, because $25.2 million is what over the cap, who are all matters on salary cap money, is saying that the Saints need to do. But remember, Jameis is what, about 14 million, 12 to 14 million that will bring them down. And then sooner or later, they'll get in the black. Now, how active the Saints are being free agency, probably could see something like how they acted last year. Maybe something like what happened last year. Like they didn't fire off and try to get everything going as early. But remember, they tried to get Scantling. Y'all remember that? The Saints tried to sign Scantling. Yeah, from the Green Bay Packers when he left. And the Saints offered him a deal, but he elected to go to Kansas City. And kudos to him, because they won a championship there in his first year there. But the Saints tried to swing and go and get him. Didn't work out. But it ended up pretty good in the draft, didn't when we got Chris Olave and then Rashid Shaheed in the undrafted ranks. So we just have to keep adding to that. But $25.2 million currently is what the Saints are in the red by as we continue to work it back. So Cam, Laddie Daddy, Andrews Pete, Elvin Kamara, Jameis Winston's ultimatum in a reworked Michael Thomas deal are the next several contracts that you can look forward to over the next several days as the Saints look to get in the black and compliant very soon. Now let's cover this story right here, because even though this is not a Saints story, this is an NFC South story. The Bears traded the #1 overall pick to the Panthers for a haul that includes wide receiver DJ Moore. Love DJ Moore, love his game. Don't have to worry about him no more in the NFC South. He's gone. So let me see if I can play this right here and let straight from the horse's mouth, Adam Schefter, who broke this thing, to kind of let you hear. So put one in the chat if y'all can hear. Here we go.
Panthers pull the trigger to make this move up to #1.
Well, Kevin, let's give you a little bit of the backstory. These talks have been going on and have intensified since the combine. The Bears were in position to make this deal, and they had multiple suitors for the #1 overall pick. Houston was interested in moving up one slot. Carolina was interested. Other teams checked in with Chicago. And ultimately, Carolina felt like this was the right compensation package. The Panthers believe they have 48 days, and they've got the right coaches in the building right now. Frank Reich, Josh McCown, others, their general manager, Scott Fitterer, to assess this quarterback class and to make a decision. Just hung up the phone with someone in the organization, and I said, there's a belief that David Tepper loves Bryce Young, Frank Reich likes C.J. Stroud, and they said, we love all these quarterbacks, and we've got 48 days to make a decision on which one we will be taking. But clearly they felt comfortable in giving up the compensation that they did to move up 8 slots in the draft to procure the #1 overall draft pick ahead of the other teams that were interested in getting that particular pick. And for the Chicago Bears, they go back 8 slots and come away with 2 1s, 2 2s, and a new #1 wide receiver in Chicago, DJ Moore. So both sides really seem to get what they wanted here out of this particular trip. Look, I think the pick will boil down to either Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. If you look at Frank Reich's history, and you know well, he has preferred bigger quarterbacks. That would be the CJ Stroud model. There are people who believe that Bryce Young should be the #1 overall pick, that he's a mini Patrick Mahomes. Well, we'll see if that is the direction they go. But clearly at this point in time, it seems to be a decision between Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, both in play for the #1 overall pick. And as that one Panthers official just said to me, we've got 48 days to go through this.
All right, so there it is, fam. And very interesting what the Panthers are doing, man. The Panthers say they want the quarterback of the future. They lined themselves up for the number one overall pick. They gave up DJ Moore, who's a hell of a wide receiver. And this is what they got. So the Bears are trading #1 overall pick in the 2023 draft, just to go over it again, to the Panthers in exchange for 4 draft picks. They gave up DJ Moore, their best weapon. The Bears will receive a first-round selection, the first-round pick, #9 overall from Carolina. The 61st overall pick, which is a late second-round pick, and a 2024 first-round selection. So they gave up 2 first-round picks, and that's the price you pay when you move up from where they were. That's the model. That's the formula. So they gave up a first-round pick, the 9th overall pick to move up there, the 61st overall pick, which is the second-round pick this year, the 2024, so next year's first-round pick, and a 2025 second-round pick, just to move up to 1. So that was real ballsy by Carolina, because they really like these young quarterbacks. And that just goes to show you this. We'll be facing one of these guys. It'll probably be CJ Stroud. I don't know if it'll be Bryce Young. Let me tell you something. Bryce Young could play, man. And they trying to critique his size and all that kind of stuff. But let me tell you something. Unless you're stupid like Arizona was and try to turn Kyler Murray into a running back and run him into your defense, then, or like how Baltimore does, when it likes to try to turn Lamar Jackson into a running back at times when they call plays for him to do, which is stupid. Don't feed your quarterback to the defense. Dumbass. But the big issue is, did they give up too much? But listen, these people are giving up the future for the present. That's what this is. So yeah, they were making fun of us. I heard that. They making fun of Saints get Derek Carr. The Saints. Waka 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 waka. The Saints get Derek Carr. Yeah. And you'll end up with a young quarterback who probably won't be good the first year, and it'll be a process to get better. But CJ Stroud or Bryce Young in the NFC South is interesting. It really is. They might not win the first year if that's the path, and that certainly seems the way they're going to go. But more than likely, they're building toward the future there. So Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, my bet it'd be CJ Stroud, to be honest with you. But don't crap on Bryce Young. I watched the kid in the SEC. He could play. He can make all the throws. He's extremely intelligent. He has a lot of leadership abilities. He's small, yes, he is, but he's 200-something pounds, got big old hands. He's smart. And you won't talk about a guy that don't give up on the play, that always keeps his eyes downfield to make the right throw. When he was at Alabama, I mean, it's just uncanny how he would just find a way to just get out of danger, and then always manage to keep his eyes up the field to find the ball. The guy's a playmaker, and let me tell you something. If you succeed in the SEC, and the SEC is the bee's knees to me in college football, man, I'm just going to keep it real. You can talk about Ohio State, Michigan, with only 2 teams up there and where they play at. But the SEC, man, it's always 7, 8, 9 teams that's already always ranked in the SEC. And plus, the Super Conference with Oklahoma and Texas moving in there will make it into a Super Conference. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see exactly how it pans out. But this is Carolina. Very interesting move. CJ Stroud or Bryce Young will be a quarterback near you in the NFC South. So we'll have a young quarterback to beat up on in Carolina. So it's very interesting. But it's a gutsy, ballsy move by Carolina to try to improve their team. It really is. Anyway, let me get a few questions from the family members out there. Please feel free, family, to throw it in the chat. Got almost 300 people in this thing. Please feel free to hit the like button. Family, if you hadn't hit it, smash the hell out the like button. Help your boy out. Please feel free to share the show links on your social media feed. Don't matter where. Reddit, Instagram, wherever you socialize, take the coma with you. Put me some, if you got any questions you want to ask, please feel free to throw them in the chat. I'll be going up until 7:30, and then we'll be heading out. So if you got any questions, please feel free to toss it in the chat, baby, and I'll do my best to answer it. But we started the broadcast off about the Saints giving Winston, this is what the show is named about, an ultimatum. And the ultimatum is, hey, sign this restructured deal, or are we going to release you come March the 15th, prior to March the 15th, make you afraid. Does Jameis Winston sign the contract? That's the big whoop. Does he sign the contract? Debo says the Panthers are desperate, Big Q. I know they're swinging for the fences, man. They're trying to do something. They don't see, I guess they don't like the quarterbacks they see in the free agency market either. I guess Jimmy Garoppolo don't float their boat. Follow Focus says Carolina's always stupidly desperate. They went from Cam to Darnold to PJ Walker to Baker back to Cam. Yeah, when you put it like that, good Lord. But they're not doing any of that desperate stuff anymore. They're going to try to build through the draft as it appears. So, and the Bears did a wonderful thing. They got a haul, man, for that first round draft pick. Not only did they get picks for the future, for now and the future, but they got a wide receiver that they could pair with Morey, with Daryl Morey, the former Tulane guy. They get a number one wide receiver to go up there. And do you really think Fields leaves now? You give him a weapon? Is Justin Fields going anywhere? I mean, that was a really good trade by the Chicago Bears. They found a pigeon right there in Carolina. This is going to be a big move. But you only do this if you thinking this guy, whoever the guy is going to be a guy that really helps you. And listen, CJ Stroud, man, he's the real deal, man. You know, this kid he can scramble. He can he can make every pass. I mean, he's a tough guy to have, but I don't think they win in the first year. But we'll see how it all looks. We don't know how they're going to build around. We about to get into free agency to see what kind of holes they patch up. So this thing is wide open, and these people are taking their shot, you know, just like we doing. All right, so anyway, T. Disley says, so how So now you have a young quarterback with no draft picks, no wide receivers. That doesn't seem like a smart move. Yeah, bro, but they still have picks left in the draft. Whatever they got left over, that once they make the quarterback selection, we know they gave up their first and their second this year. But they're still going to have some good talent that'll be available in the third or fourth round. And depending on what they do in free agency too. Do they go in free agency and try to get some weapons for the young quarterback they're going to have? So they're working on clearing some space too. But you put the free agency with the draft and then you see what happens, So things are very much still wide open. All right. Oh, Debo says, whatever the Saints do, we need a running game if we want to win anything. I agree with you, sir. All right. Steve says, I like Bryce Young more because this year's Alabama Crimson Tide receivers were pedestrians and he carried them. You know what? You're true. That is very true. The wide receivers that Alabama have wasn't the kind of guys we accustomed to them seeing. And I seen this guy, he would make the throws. I mean, he was just, and listen, they always have really good quarterbacks at Alabama, but this guy here, man, it's just, he was always intelligent, had a real clear understanding of what he was doing, bright kid, high intelligence level. And then he would always, like when the pressure come, he would sense the pressure, would maneuver himself to get out of the way most of the times, and would always find a way to keep his eyes up the field. Like some quarterbacks, like we seen when Ian Book was here, Ian Book's eyes would drop and he'll see the blitzes come at him and he would just tuck the ball and get sacked or whatever. Most of them quarterbacks, man, they feel the pressure coming, but they always have the ability to always keep their eyes up the field for a potential throw. Like if the blitz is coming, somebody's open and I'm going to find you. So that's a lot of times to be counting on the quarterback's eyes to drop to the field level to pay attention to the defenders. And if they're looking at the defenders coming at them or running to them, they're not looking downfield to make a play. That kid did a lot of that last year. So Bryce Young, he has a lot. He's very talented, man. The hell with that height situation, KT said, the hell with that. Frank Reich can coach quarterbacks, get ready for a major problem. Yeah, he's a quarterback himself. But at the same time, I don't know exactly. And like the family member said, we don't know what kind of offense they're building there, but they do. They're going to have the money to spend, so we'll see. But CJ Stroud Bryce Young or CJ Stroud will present an interesting element to the Saints defense. Either one of them you take, bro, you're going to have a problem because both of them can move. They both can scramble. And remember, don't forget your defense can't guard those speedy quarterbacks. They can't keep them for whatever reason. The Saints defense major Achilles heel is that they can't guard these mobile quarterback threats. They can't stop them. We just can't seem to get it right. All right. So anyway, Debo says the Panthers got good at the end of the year. The low key almost made the playoffs. So yeah, this is true. This is true. I forgot the coach name. He almost had him in there. D's Nuts says, Q, you think CeeDee's coming back? No, I don't think so, bro. I would be very surprised, excuse me, if the Saints did ultimately say, hey, CeeDee Deuce, come on back to the black and gold. I would be really surprised by that, how everything went down how everything went south with Dennis Allen and all that and how they left. I would be surprised that CeeDee would return to the Saints. I would say no to that, bro. All right. Brandarius says, so I'm ready for Pete to go. I wouldn't mind us drafting the best guard in the first round of the draft. He says draft a defensive tackle in round 2. So yeah, and you're looking at, you're just basically saying, bro, build up your offensive line. That's what indeed your lines. That's what you're basically saying, build up the lines. And I can never disagree with that. Anytime you want to build up the line and you got Andrews Pete there and you can free up some more money and get a young, really good guy like, what's his name? Torrance out of Florida, a Louisiana kid that can come in there and play at a cheaper rate than Andrews Pete and probably play some more games because Andrews' body's breaking down. I wouldn't be mad at you. And of course, we know that the Saints need help interiorly speaking and from a defensive standpoint to stuff to run. And they are looking at that. So that's very positive. Yeah, Gundam says CJ is very dangerous. Yeah, both of them are dangerous, bro. But CJ Stroud is a big quarterback that can move, that can see over the top of your defense, that can make every throw. So listen, these guys are going to look interesting. They really are. But I don't want to put too much on these guys, because they still are rookies. They got to get acclimated to the NFL game. And a lot of people are going to put pressure on them. So I'm not seeing very much with them in the first year. I'd be very surprised if that happens. because that usually doesn't happen. All right, Pelicans Nola says Big Q Carolina Kitty Cats didn't move up for Bryce Young. They moved up for CJ. Okay, yeah, well, they according to the reports I just played, and there are others from insiders saying that the discussion is between the two, Bryce or CJ. But if you're a big guy, I will most certainly look at CJ Stroud, man. But listen, don't disrespect or look down, on Bryce Young. The dude is special. All right, any questions, fam? Questions, some Gunner says, how will Derek Carr do, Big Q? I think Carr will do, I think he'll be fine in his first year. And when I say fine, I don't want to put too much on Carr. I won't say Carr's going to come in here and take the Saints to the playoffs, because the Saints have other issues that need to be addressed, before we all lay it on Carr. He does provide an element of leadership for the offense that they lacked last year. He does give them a severe deep ball game, which they lacked last year. So those two things right there in your offense is a major positive, because you can't win effectively or consistently without those two things. So he does bring some leadership there to the offensive room. He does provide the deep ball throw there. And he does bring, that's a very exciting element of the Saints offense, to have the ability to stretch those defenses out, because it gives them the ability to work underneath. So when you got the guys, them safeties playing off, you Taysom Hill, you can hit them with Taysom, running the ball, you can hit them, whatever you got underneath. It just makes everything a lot easier. If you go back and watch the tape from last year, they was just smothering the Saints up there. They was daring the Saints to throw the ball on the field. Daring them. You won't beat us throwing the ball down the field, and the Saints simply couldn't do it effectively and consistently. This will be different this year. They'll have to respect Carr's deep ball game, because he's dangerous. You got guys like Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave running under him. That's something to be respected. And a healthy Mike Thomas is a big plus. So if the Saints working on the contract to bring Michael Thomas back is very enticing. I was asked about Jarvis Landry. Does Jarvis come back? I don't think so. I'm going to say no to Jarvis Landry coming back. I'm going to just say that was a one-hitter quitter. I don't think he comes back, because remember, Jarvis was here for Jameis, and Jameis looked like he about to leave if he decides to go. So, we'll see. Jamal says Traquan Smith needs to block traffic since he's good at blocking. I don't see how that guy keeps surviving, and we just keep saying he's a good blocker. You need more than that, man. That wouldn't work for most people all the time. It's just the Saints. I don't know what it is about Traquan Smith. I really don't know, man. I can't tell you. I also said it still bugs me that Dennis Allen traded him for, CD Deuce for peanuts. Yeah, I know, fam. Crazy part about it is, and I don't think he reaches back out to CD Deuce and bring him here. That would be awesome, though, to bring CD Deuce in here and bring him back. I just don't, that you get that emotional guy back, that talkative person. And then he has experience starting at the safety position, which you can need there, because Marcus May could be facing some problems as well. So you could be facing some problems with the gun, the supposed gun situation, him brandishing the gun at another car, and the DUI situation from the Jets. Yet he's yet to serve discipline on that either. So he's going to be missing some time. So it wouldn't be bad to bring CD Deuce back, but I'm pretty sure you'll be going up against a competing market for his services, and the Saints are not going to be in the best situation money-wise to go after him. And I think he will be a guy that probably be out, you'll be outbidded for. So, and plus it's the petty gene of Dennis Allen. Does Dennis Allen bring down his pride, or bite his lip and say, CD, look, I'm sorry, come on back to the Saints, all is forgetting? I just think that man has for green pastures. He's gone. All right, any other questions, family? We got about another, 15 minutes or so. Please feel free to throw them in the chat. If you got any questions, throw them in the chat. Please feel free to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and the share button for me as well. Uncle Paulie says, hey, Q, if the Saints decide to draft a tailback in the first round, who do you think they will pick up? And I think in the draft, the Saints need to get a free safety, because Tyrann Mathieu is on his last legs. In the first round, tailback, the only back that possibly could be there if the Saints would consider in the first round would be Robinson out of Texas. And if he falls all the way to number 29, all the way to the back of the first round, and you the New Orleans Saints, and Robinson is on the board, you got to take him, man. I mean, that is a huge value. That's the best running back in the draft, and you getting them basically in the back as a second round selection. Thank you, Roman. Shout out to Roman O for hitting the subscribe button. Appreciate your family. Welcome to the fam, Roman O. Thank you. Yeah, that Robinson thing, that's the best running back in the draft. If he falls to you at 29, you gotta pull the hammer on that, bro, because you're looking at Kamara, man. Kamara's situation is he gonna lose, he gonna miss some time. I don't know what Kamara's defense is for what he's doing. The videotape is, if he trying to play the defense angle, that is not going to work. The only way for him to win with what he's doing is he got to pay off every goddamn body, including the judge and the jury, everybody. You got to pay him off, and then put them the blind people glasses on them, so they. That's the only way. Because you're gonna pay off the court. That probably would be a lot cheaper than paying $10 million for the guy that he tried to clean the shoes off on. But yeah, Robinson falls here at 29, man. That would be. I mean, how could you look past that? I mean, that guy is a beast, man. And of course, it would make a interesting tandem between Alvin Kamara and Robinson, for real, thunder and lightning. And that guy, man, let me tell you, that would be very impressive for the Saints offense if they were able to land that kid. And then, of course, they can then do whatever they need to do with the rest of the picks. Yeah, I know about Gibbs, bro. Gibbs is a good one too, but Robinson, that's another level. That's another level. And if he falls to you at 29, bro, hey, that'd be tough. All right, Ant-Man said they can pay Chauncey. Well, bro, listen, I don't think they're doing that. KT says, Big Q, who are your favorite receivers in this draft? Who are my favorite wide receivers in the draft? Well, I mean, we talked about a few of them, KT. Man, there are quite a few of them. I like the kid from Ohio State, man. Even though, you know what's crazy about this year's draft is there's not any strung out like top talented wide receivers like that, blowing your socks off like a top 10 guy. I like the kid from Ohio State, but he got banged up, but he shows a lot of potential, but I expect him to go in the first round. He's interesting, but we talked about some people, KT, before that. I still got to get those out there, man. We broke down, but it was a couple of them we went over during our preview show that we was talking about, bro. That, you know what, we got to get that tape out. I'm going to make sure we get that out this weekend, man. We got to do that because all that stuff's sitting there and it's already, most of it's done. I just hadn't put the button to it, bro, to put it out, but we got to put that out, man. We got to, that's a good game. We was dropping on that. Slim South says, Q, has Caden Ellis played his way out of New Orleans? Possibly, bro. That's a great question, Slim. That's a great question. If you had the Saints are working with limited capital anyway, how much money do you guys think the Saints will have roughly to compete with? What, south of $20 million? I mean, realistically, let me get the Great Saint Think Tank thought processes on that. How much money do you think the Saints will free up once they are able to get over the said $25 million, which is currently at that we're in the red is? How much do you guys think the Saints will get in the black end? I'm saying maybe just around 20 million or just south of 20 million. If that's the case, I don't expect the Saints to get real flamboyant in free agency. It'll be something similar to what happened last year. You know what I'm saying? They'll have more of a conservative, measured approach in free agency. They'll probably wait for things to die down and then play into who's left over and allow the market to set the rates like they were doing with Tyrann Mathieu and what they did with how they handled the Tyrann Mathieu situation. They allowed the market to play itself out, and then the third level or fourth level of free agency, then they jumped in there with the contract. So expect like really measured approaches, a conservative approach similar to what happened last year. But I'm thinking like maybe 20 million, maybe just south of 20 million that they'll be able to free up. So in any measure, I'm not thinking the Saints will be big players in free agency, but then again, they can go in free agency and start throwing these dumbass deals together where they kick the can down the road and furtherly mortgage the future for the present. So I guess they could take either approach based on their motivations, and the ultimate motivation is to win, right? So, you never know. Thank you, Slim. Great question. But Caden Ellis, man, is a guy, if you think about it, the reason why I threw that the cap situation at you to answer your question is because if you look at who the Saints have, you got guys, what's the top three the Saints we want to get them to re-sign back? David Onyemata should be up there. You got a restricted free agent situation with Juwan Johnson. A lot of people say, Q, Juwan Johnson, he's restricted. So whatever somebody offered him, we can match it, you see? Or, so I think, you want to get David Onyemata re-signed. Davenport, no, sir. I'm done with Davenport unless it's a cheap deal, a really cheap deal, which it probably won't be because somebody going to want to give him some money, probably the Falcons, with Ryan Nielsen, who was coaching them the last several years. And then who else do you have that you want to try to sign besides David Onyemata and Juwan Johnson? Caden Ellis is a guy you definitely got to look at. But your starters are Demario Davis and Pete Werner, right? But Caden Ellis got his bones because Werner wasn't there, because Werner plays harder than what his body could put up with. It's the Bob Sanders syndrome, or the Troy Polamalu syndrome. He plays harder than what his physical body could take. I mean, he's a wonderful player, but at the end of the day, plays a little too, he plays harder than what his body, the punishment that his body can take. So he's going to have to find a balance in there some kind of way without, becoming the David, what's his name, that was here, who used to play with his hair on fire. And then in the last year or so, he started playing real scared because he didn't want to get hurt. He went on to the Lions. What's the man name, man? Thor. Man, I forgot that man name that quick, man. Y'all remind me in the chat. All right, my dog says, but Caden Ellis, bro, that's to be interesting, man, because the Saints play more two linebacker looks. They play that modified nickel a lot, and Caden Ellis is the reserve linebacker in case of injury to Demario or to Pete Werner, which he plays a lot of reps because Pete Werner's already always hurt. So if that's the case, the Saints should look at giving Caden Ellis some paper to return. So I think he comes back. I think the Saints could get the deal done to bring Caden Ellis back. The light finally went on, and you're going to need him. But then again, what about DeMarco Jackson? Where does he fit? And maybe the Saints see more upside with DeMarco as opposed to paying Caden Ellis. But maybe they can have both. It depends. But I think the Saints could want him if they're really motivated to. But we'll see, man. It's a lot of twists and turns in this stuff. I tell you what, man. All right, Saints for Life says, hold on, I just scrolled on it. Hold on now. Tell me about it. Says, Q, how much do Leonard Fournette want, you think? I don't know how much you want, bro. I don't. A lot of people keep saying the league minimum. I don't know. If he comes and plays for the Saints around the vet minimum, that would be cool. Maybe between $5 to $6 million. They want. Some people don't want to say that. I've heard $7-8 million. I'm like, hell no. But it depends, man, because Leonard Fournette could probably give you a hometown discount. You can't tell me Leonard Fournette don't want to play for the Saints. And he's a free agent there, and he might come at a cheaper rate. I don't think people beating the doors down to get Leonard Fournette on their squad. And anyway, he might be one of the veterans that you could pick up late in free agency. You just have to sit there and wait. And you probably could get him for, cheap on the slick. Less than $5 million a season to come to New Orleans, to back up Elvin Kamara. Love that, man. Would love seeing him in the black and gold, man. That would be all awesome to see Leonard Fournette in the black and gold. It just depends on the stratagem of the Saints. They had the opportunity to get him when he first left the Jaguars, and the Saints just had zero interest in making it happen, man. Just kind of think like, man, how did they capitulate these things? You see a guy that can help you in a power game, like, oh, that's all right. Let him go to your rival. And he tore you up in the playoffs, didn't he? Brother Randolph says Kincaid would be a very good selection and fit for tight end. Kincaid, yeah. Me and KT talked about him. Debo says Winston cap hit is $12 million and Pete will save us $7 million. So that's $19 million right there, baby. All right, T did this said make Smith. Okay, Big Smith out of Michigan. Yeah, Mozzie Smith. Yeah, Big Mozzie Smith there. Yeah, I keep hitting. Yeah, Kalaji Cansey from Pitt. I keep hearing pipeline between the Saints liking Cansey out of Pittsburgh. Yeah, I read something on that. Gonna be fun. What about Smoke Monday, the safety? Yeah, Smoke Monday's still there, man. Big safety, physical. Me and DC, yeah, Alex Anzalone. Thank y'all, fam. Thank y'all for that. That's who I forgot. I forgot Alex Anzalone, man. And I'm not saying, I'm just, you remember Alex Anzalone played a similar style, even though Pete Werner's a lot better. But Alex Anzalone used to play very, very aggressive. And then what happened? He kept getting hurt year after year, and then he started tiptoeing in there. used to make jokes about Alex Anzalone tiptoeing through the tulips, but he looked good for Detroit, you know, playing and stepping his game up, man. But boy, he used to piss me off, man, because his game was so emotional. And then when he started doing that, it stuck out that he was just playing to not get hurt. And when we seen that, it's time for you to go. It's time. Not saying that you should be stupid out there, but he was really obvious with it. You can't go from this end of the spectrum to this end of the spectrum and don't expect us not to notice it, man. You got to find ground somewhere in the middle. And he was real timid in this game. And I was like, man, we got to get this guy the hell up out of here. All right. Wu says Caden Ellis got to compete with Levante David, Bobby Wagner, Eric Kendricks, and others in free agency. Should be easy to bring him back. I hope so, bro. I hope so. But maybe that can work in his favor, being that a lot of those other names want big money. They, you know, and Caden Ellis could be a guy that flies under the radar. He's a younger guy, less wear and tear, and he could command a lot less than those guys. So that might work in his favor too, if you think about it. KT says, Q, you think about the Saints would trade down for more picks? That's interesting, bro. They already at the back of the first round. Would they trade down for more picks? That's a good question, KT. I don't think so, bro. I don't think they'll trade. I don't think the Saints gonna. I don't know if they're gonna wheel and deal this year. You know, I think where they are is where they are, and they're gonna work from it. But I guess if there's a situation where they feel like they need to move, and I guess trading down would seem more likely than you know trading back than trading up. I don't know, man. That's a good question. I don't know. Quavadia says, you think the Saints take a look at Adam Thielen? No, sir. Absolutely not. Thielen's going to command a lot of money, bro. Adam Thielen's going to command a lot of money. You already reworking Michael Thomas's deal. You got Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed. I'm going to have to say no to that one, my friend. I would have to say no to that. All right. So who else we got? Reginald says Smoke Money's still on the team. He's still on the team, bro. You remember he was hurt last year. He's still on the team. The Saints need help in the safety position. Smoke Money's one of them. I don't think Bryce Thompson is on the team anymore, if I'm not mistaken, from Tennessee. I like Bryce Thompson's game a lot. I don't know if he's still on the team, but Smoke Money's the guy that can help as well. Big safety, man, very physical. Will be fun seeing what he can do and how he can help the Saints. Because we need help in the safety room, man. The Saints need to definitely take a safety. I agree with you, Uncle Paulie. At some point, maybe in the 4th or 5th round, the Saints could look at a safety, man. We could definitely use some guys there. All right. All right, Brother Ernest. What's up, Professor? Says Marvin Mims from wide receiver from Oklahoma. Yeah, yep, it's a good one. Let's see. Ellis is suspect in coverage, better at rushing and QB blitzing. He got better, Torrey. He did. I mean, you remember he used to, he got, when he was, at times, man, like he'll get there, he'll be back there, and I don't know what he just loses the guy. The guy gets, guys run behind him, and he got better last year at it, And he got better last year. Like when he first got here, he was like, his first year, he was like the preseason MVP in the preseason before he got hurt. And then between then and now, last year, this year he picked it up, and it's like a light went on in his head, and he's like, oh, I could play this position. Because he had the speed. He had the intelligence, but sometimes it take a while for guys to get it. But he really turned it up last year, and the light went on. You got to remember, he's been playing in the same system all of his career. He was a 7th-round draft pick for the Saints, and they just stayed with him. And eventually, with the injuries that kept happening to Pete Turner, he kept getting all them good reps, and the light just turned on for him, and that's what happened. So, I still think the Saints could bring him back. All right, Michael Ratliff, how much you think Fournette has left? Left in his tank to play? And Lenny Lazy Fournette, that was Elite says. He got a little something to give, man. You don't think that he'll help the Saints in some capacity? He's a short yardage runner that can help the Saints. You're not trying to make Leonard Fournette a 20 carry back. Fournette, Elvin Kamara would probably be the guy that handles a lot of the work, and Leonard Fournette comes in for short yardage situations to get that going because he's a power runner. So Dennis Allen did mention in this introductory press conference that he wanted more of a power running game. Well, Leonard Fournette might be that, but we'll see how it all goes, bro. We'll see how it all goes. I don't think he'll fly off the board. I think Leonard Fournette's going to sit on free agency until he to later on, real late in free agency before camp goes and somebody will pick at him, you know. All right, let me get a couple of more and then we're going to get on out. Kelvin says, Big Q, what about the dancing bear from Baylor? Oh, yeah, Ika. He says you could draft a guy that massive in the interior. I would love the dancing bear. I would love Mozzie Smith. I would love them guys because the Saints need a nose tackle. They need a nose tackle. They need a nose tackle to sit next to David Onyemata. David Onyemata looked a lot different when he had a real nose tackle. And people say defensive tackle with Malcolm Brown. Malcolm Brown, he made him look really good because David Onyemata would have to just beat one guy as opposed to have to beat two guys. They focused in on doubling David Onyemata. He didn't look the same last year. But when you give him a guy like a Malcolm Brown or a big interior defensive tackle that requires two people to block him, that makes life easier for everybody on the defensive line. And we did have 40-something sacks last year. The Saints' biggest problem defensively, like they were soft up the middle. They allowed 20+ yards per contest. And some of those were losses. So the Saints have a very clear situation they got to do. They got to fix the interior of the defensive line by putting a big nose tackle there. The good news is you got several guys that you can reach at. In the back of the first round, the second round, you do have Mozzie Smith. You have Big Ika there. There are several other guys that can fit that building as well that you can get in the second or third rounds. So they do have interior guys there that can help as well. KT says, Q, Trey Dean. KT, you know I love my safeties, brother. Man, Antonio Johnson, man, bro. Man, dude. Bro, I love Trey Dean the third, man. I gotta give it to you. Although Johnson, man, I can't disrespect Johnson, bro, because a lot of people think Johnson. I've seen a lot of mock drafts and people put Johnson up there ahead of Trey Dean, and I understand that. But bro, what Trey Dean brings, bro, to the game, man, shit, man, bro, that's what I'm saying. But see, the safety, people don't realize how fragile our safety room is, man. You got Tyrann Mathieu at the back end of his career. You got Marcus Mayday, who's facing legal issues, who was hurt missed like 6 games with just injuries last year. So we were fragile in the safety position back there. So having a safety, if you can get a guy like Antonio Johnson or Trey Dean, the third man back there, and of course you got Smoke Monday, who's undrafted there. I don't think JT Gray plays into any of that, because if JT Gray playing safety for you, you're in trouble. JT Gray's not a very good safety. He's a hell of a special teams guy, but it's like what the Saints do. We find these special teams guys that play, and they play really good special teams, but they can't play the position that they come from. It happened with Chris Banjo. That happened with Justin Hardy. We keep getting the aces. They can't play the positions they come from. So at some point, we got to address that. We got to be able to get the safety of the future behind these safeties we have. So, that's something you got to look at. So we'll see. Joe said, what's up, Joe? Shout out to you, bro. What's up, Trail? Shout out to my brother, Trail, man. Shout out to you. Debo says, Q, give us your top 3 positions to select if you're Mickey Loomis. Top 3 positions to me, bro, in this draft, because they're not, and let's just remove the quarterback situation, because I don't think that's going to be a factor in the top 3 for the Saints. If I'm using Mickey Loomis, you're saying it's Mickey Loomis and not as myself. But looking at what the Saints are looking at, more than likely their top picks more than likely going to be on the line. You might be you looking at let's see, the defensive line situation is something that they're looking at. I'm really kind of back, looking at Andrews Pete. I don't know what happens with Andrews Pete, man. Really, I don't, because they can free up a big chunk of change by getting rid of Andrews, but do they rework him? That's a big thing, a big shoe to fall between now and then to know exactly what happened. We kind of know what's going to happen to Jameis. Jameis is not going to be your backup, so he's going to go into free agency. We know that. They still got to work Cam and Lattimore, Elvin Kamara. They rework those deals, and they reworking Michael Thomas. That'll save you some money. But what about Andrews Pete? He's the question mark there. Do he come back with Andrews Pete? Reason why I said it, because that could mean a lot to the Saints in this draft, because if they draft Michael Thomas, they drafted Chris Olave last year. They have Rashid Shaheed. That eliminates wide receiver. It's not going to be wide receiver. It's not going to be tight end. Running back, it depends. If Robinson If he falls to you there, and he's high on your board, the Saints got to look at him. But I got to think offensive line if I'm the Saints. Because if I'm thinking, let's say Andrews Pete is not the guy, the Saints could be looking at offensive lineman Torrance. They could be looking at him. He's one of the best or better offensive guards, interior men that's in the draft. You get him at the back of the first round, he's a starter for multiple years in the interior of your offensive line. The next round, it can go in the defensive position, or you can flip-flop them. I think line is the pick for the Saints, whether it's interior defense or interior offensive line. Maybe a defensive lineman's there as well. But when you talk about cornerbacks and all that kind of stuff, I can't see the Saints taking the cornerback, with the first round draft pick. I can't see that, man. Or even a linebacker there because they got what they got. So I'm looking at the line. I'm looking at the offensive line, interior line, and the defensive line, whether it's an interior defensive line position or an edge rusher. Because the Saints, depending on what kind of money we got coming out of free agency, do we actually go into free agency or coming, before free agency, freeing up, do we actually go into free agency and compete for a veteran at the position, or are the Saints good at what they got at the defensive line position? Meaning you got Cam on one side and you got Passanio on the other side, which Passanio is not a full-time starter for you. He's a fill-in guy, so you should be looking to do better than that. Granderson and Peyton Turner. The Saints drafted Peyton Turner. Like it or not, Peyton Turner should be starting for you opposite of Cam Jordan if he's healthy. Do the Saints address that defensive pass rush position and keep it going? Remember, Cam has a year left on his deal. Do the Saints rework Cam Jordan deal as well and tack on maybe a year or two onto Cam Jordan's contract to kind of extend out if they're reworking it? So the Saints are at that threshold right now. So I would have to look at the lines, bro, and plus probably throw a running back in there because of the Alvin Kamara situation. You got to. You can't miss on that. I don't think wide receiver because it's obvious, But thanks for the question. I answered it the best way I can, brother. All right, so yeah, the Andrews Pete thing is interesting. Y'all know I love Andrews, man, but I don't know what this. He's a big question mark in what the Saints do, and they really could just get done with Andrews and draft Torrance right out of Florida and bring him in here and plug him there, and he'll be there for the next 10 years. I mean, that guy's really that good. This dude is just good, man. Awesome offensive lineman, moves guys around. That would be a smart move. The Saints would save money there. And, he has a certain nastiness to his game that we really need on him and Trevor Pennon playing a left tackle and the other guy there. I mean, that would be a smart move for the Saints if they had to do that. But the Andrews Pete thing is the question mark for me, fam. 504 says, Q, if I had to draft a left tackle in the first round, cut Pete and move Pennon to guard. He says Pinion. Yes, I always say Pinion. Man, y'all something else, man. Y'all listen to my ass a lot, man, because I always say Pinion. I don't know why I say Pinion, man, like Rack and Pinion or some crap like that. The man's name is Pennon. He was Trevor Pinion. Well, I say opinion, man. I don't know, man. He says, if I draft, he says, say I draft the left tackle in the first, cut Pete and move Pinion, which is pinning. All right, to guard. What do you think? Okay, so you cut Pete. All right, you cut Pete and move Pinion. Okay, Pinion. To guard, you're gonna move. You gonna move Penn in the guard? Is that what you're saying? Okay, you draft the left tackle. Okay, and move Penn into guard. I don't know, man. I don't know about moving Penn into guard, bro. I don't know. I think Pennon does look good at the tackle position. I just think he should be right tackle and not left tackle. That's just me. I think the best tackle should be on the left side covering your quarterback's blind side. That's just me. And I think Ramczyk is the best tackle of the two. Between the two. And that's how it's always traditionally been done. The Saints took a non-traditional approach by putting a rookie at the quarterback's blind side. I just think that was not a smart move. But in the end, it's their damn team, right? They're running it. So I don't think Pennon at a guard position would, I don't know. I wouldn't like that. I don't know. I'm not saying he couldn't play it. I just think he does better at tackle. Debo says, you love Pete. You're the first person to ever say, I've been saying that, bro. The family know that. They know that. Shout out to you, E-Mac. Thank you, bro, for your super chat, bro. Appreciate you, my brother. Thank you. Yeah, I always say penning, bro. I always say it's pinion, bro. I don't know what I be saying, man. Y'all know I be saying a lot of stuff, man. Sometimes, but you know what? You gotta laugh at yourself sometime, man. You know, you gotta laugh at yourself, man. You got to, bro. You gotta laugh. Shit, I do. I mean, y'all know how big I got all kind of platforms, family. Y'all know I talk for hours. I got all kind of stuff going, so I'm bound to say something crazy. I'm bound to make a mistake some kind of way, right? All right. Shout out to the fam. All right. Yeah, he looked beat down. And there go my dog, Rashad. Rashad, he says, what's up, my bro? How you doing, bro? He says, y'all know it too. PNP in the building. Shout out to my boy, brother Rashad, man. Y'all trying to get CJ Stroud or Bryce Thompson? Let's ask them. The best Panther podcast, the Carolina Panther podcast in the nation is PNP. Right from the horse's mouth. Let me throw it right at him. Brother Rashad, brother Dave, shout out to you. Who y'all picking with that pick? Y'all gave up a king's ransom to move up. And I heard you was being sporty about the Derek Carr situation. I heard you was over there laughing. Now y'all sitting up here, y'all gave up a king's ransom, a king's fortune rather, to move up to number one position. Y'all gave up y'all best wide receiver, you know, and then and I hear you talking about you trying to get Adam Thielen. Is that what you're trying to do? Y'all got the feeling for Thielen? Is that what's going on? Okay, all right. So no Bryce. So no Bryce then. Y'all want CJ. Okay, I see. He says, yeah. Okay, yeah. He says Stroud and it's up. Okay, yeah. It won't work, brother. You know what I'm saying? I ain't throwing some cold water on what y'all got going on there. Listen, did a wonderful job with the coaching staff. Much love to you and how y'all operating over there. But listen, bro, we're gonna see, bro. But listen, Stroud is a beast, man. Both of those quarterbacks is problems. He said, we're not worried about those future picks. Yeah, see, I told y'all. They're not worrying about the future because they mortgage the future for the present. Because the Carolina Panthers are in the ultimate state of desperation. The Panthers want to get back to the playoffs. How long has it been, Brother Rashad, Brother Dave, since y'all been in the playoffs, man? It's been 2 years for us. How long has it been for you guys? It had to been what? Y'all had that actor as a head coach for what, 4 years? So I know it had to be every bit of 4 years since y'all been in the playoffs? Y'all guys probably thirsty for some playoffs, man. Yeah, they got the feeling for Thielen. I think Carolina looking at it, man. So we're going to see. Yeah. 504 said, I think Penning would be a nasty guard. Yeah, he probably would, bro. I just like his speed asset outside. KT said Big Q Skinner got hurt during the combine. He could be available in the middle rounds. I heard about that, bro. I heard about that. Could be. He could slide a bit. Yeah. All right. Another one says, who's Stroll throwing the ball to? Yeah, who is he throwing the ball? Well, is he the brother Rashad and Dave saying he got the feeling for Thielen. They think Thielen might be the guy, man. So I don't know, man. I don't know. You got to have somebody to throw the ball to. And they gave up the first and second round picks this year. So if they're going to do something, they probably work it in free agency or wait to the third round or whatever it is, depending on what their pick situation is. So we'll see. Yeah, Emax says, Q, it doesn't really matter what the coaches that are in place. Okay, yeah. But it's fun talking about it with our NFC South brethren. You know, it's always good to talk it out to them. Y'all something else, man. Y'all throwing stones this early, huh? Okay, he said we have another second round pick. We moving just fine. Okay, all right. Okay, y'all playing chess, not checkers. I got you, brother. Well, congratulations to y'all on the move, bro. I hope it works out for y'all, and I wish you all the best, except when you playing my goddamn team, all right? We got that straight. You know, I hope y'all the best, my brother, until you meet up with my squad. And then we got swept by Carolina last year. Ain't that terrible? We lost to the Carolina Panthers last year, man. That was crazy. Okay, yeah, I knew KT loved Jadakiss Bonds, man. Yeah. You don't think he gets drafted? I think he gets drafted, bro. I think he gets drafted late. Debo says Panthers not going into the season with these wide receivers. They're going to spend some time in free agency and maybe in the draft. Allen says Stroud will be throwing the ball to Marshawn. Yes. Yeah, that's all right, bro. Y'all had it last year, man. We gonna see what y'all working with this year, bro. Y'all gonna have a rookie back there. We're gonna tear y'all up, man. We're gonna tell that rookie gonna be standing there, eyes big as soap dishes, man. He gonna be standing there, eyes big as saucers, man, staring. We're gonna tear that old rookie up back there, man. We're gonna tear him up and tear him down. All right, so with that being said, fam, I'm going to get ready to get out on that. Listen, I appreciate the family members for tuning in to the stream tonight. Please feel free to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button. Feel free to share the show on your social media feed. We up in this thing. Today is Friday's stream. Tomorrow is Saturday. I'm going to see what's going on. We got the Pelican Post. Well, we got something going on tomorrow. Pelican Post game. I don't know. We'll see how. Man, I got to check the schedule, and maybe we'll pop in with the family members. So if it probably be early, I can't really make. The damn weekends be so busy for me, man. The last couple of weekends I wanted to go live with y'all guys and take some calls. It just been my little schedule, man. Just been all over the place, man. Doing so much. So I'm gonna try, man. Hit the notification bell, man, for future content, man. And listen. I'm going to pop in at sometimes, hit the notification bell so we can get to going. So with that being said, I'm going to get on that. I appreciate y'all, man. Love y'all. Keep y'all heads up, and I'll speak to you soon. Who that?
Yeah. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Long as I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. Sports coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Sports coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like Elf. I thank God every day I'm not a felt. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your chain for the championship. Bucking on town, duck down. Falcons pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL, when things seem fishy, then you probably smell the crooked referees on Roger Goodell. Yeah, running like this, and I'm a who that. Every day I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. It's the sports coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. It's the sports coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
The Pro Shop is the platform store where you can go and buy all the latest merch to support the platform. Available at the Pro Shops, we have dozens of hundreds of products available for you and your family. Unisex tees for men and women, hoodies and sweatshirts, tank tops, kids and baby items, long sleeve tees, mugs, pillows, wall art, bath bedding, face masks, phone cases, stickers, bags, fanny packs, socks, hats, and many other items. Please feel free to check out the Pro Shops. The link is in the description section below. And remember, it helps the platform continue to grow. Check out the Pro Shop and Who That too.
TheWhoThatDaily.com. That's right, TheWhoThatDaily.com. Your one-stop shop for everything New Orleans Saints, New Orleans Pelicans, LSU Tigers, and even the top flight boxing news. So if you're a Who That and you're looking for a place to stay up on your team, TheWhoThatDaily.com is your site. TheWhoThatDaily.com for the sport Who That in all of us.